Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for not getting a car for my stepdaughter but giving a car to my daughter? My daughter and stepdaughter are the same age, 18. I've been with my wife for 3 years, married for 1. My wife and I established that since our kids were pretty much grown, most finance choices and parenting between the kids would be left to the bio parents. My stepdaughter and I just don't have a relationship. She'd often say things like, "You're not my dad," or just make rude remarks, so I stopped trying. She was grown, couldn't really make a difference. Now we just don't really talk. I have 2 kids, 18 female and 16 male, who are my entire world. My daughter has been begging for a car for 2 years and my ex-wife suggested that we should get her a car for a pre-graduation gift. She will graduate in under 2 months, has great grades and great behavior, so why not? I told my wife that my ex-wife and I were both pitching in to get my daughter the car she wanted. My wife was not happy about this as she didn't think it was fair that my daughter got a car, but hers did. Her ex-husband and her can't afford to give her a car right now, so she suggested that I split the amount I was paying for my daughter's car, and use that to get her daughter a car. Except that can't work due to the fact I'm paying half for my daughter's car, and if I were to pay for my stepdaughter's car as well, finances would be tight. My wife then told her daughter. So, the kids and I went to my ex-wife's house and gave my daughter the car she wanted. She was extremely happy, and that's all I wanted. We got back to the house and my wife was mad at me because I went along with giving her a car. The next morning, my wife said she had a surprise for me, and started recording. Her stepdaughter came into the kitchen and said, "I'm sorry Dad for everything I've done," said some other stuff, and then asked if she could please have a car. I asked my wife to stop recording. I told her that I can't give her a car, and now I'm the criminal. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I can understand being annoyed, but your new wife is being manipulative. Exactly, and her daughter is following in her footsteps. An apology shouldn't have strings attached, and she would have returned to her former ways after you bought her a car anyways. She's only calling you dad and batting her eyelashes to get her way. At least your wife isn't discreet when it comes to manipulating you. If only blatantly fake proclamations of love were enough to magic money out of your butt, eh? Not the a-hole. Damn, and here I was about to try this technique on my husband, lol. Not the a-hole. It disgusts me that she would only call you dad now that she is wanting something from you. Your wife is being ridiculous. If financial decisions were set to be for bio kids, you did what you wanted for yours. I hope you guys don't have a joint account your wife can drain to buy a car for her brat of a daughter. To film the moment where the brat goes begging, is even more ridiculous. It seems like they are trying to shame you into buying a car for her, when she has wanted nothing to do with you until you got your daughter one. Good for you for not giving in to your wife. Exactly. The wife and stepdaughter are both being extremely emotionally manipulative and selfish. I grew up with a stepsister exactly my age from my stepfather and 3 stepbrothers from my stepmom, and I didn't expect to get the same things they did and vice versa, and I'd actually grown up with all of them from a young age and had good relationships with both step-parents. OP. Stand your ground. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for wanting to pay niece's college tuition against fiancé's wishes? Both my brother and his ex-girlfriend are total deadbeat parents to my niece and they've never been in the picture. They dumped her on my mom the second she was born, so she practically raised my niece since she was a baby. I started helping out more after my dad died, not my niece's grandpa since my brother and I had different dads, and was left with a huge sum of inheritance. I put some of it aside and decided that would be her college fund in the future. My niece is bright and she has a lot of goals career-wise. She's about to become a senior in high school this year, so next year will be college. My fiancée is 4 months pregnant and something that came up recently was my niece's college fund. I was always upfront about my involvement in my niece's life. And I do provide financial support because I have the means to do it, and I know my mom needs the help every now and then. She feels that now with a baby on the way, that fund should be used for our future expenses and our own kids' college instead. My fiancé isn't happy that I still want to use this money for my niece to go to college. And we have had a couple fights about it. 1. I promised my niece her college expenses would be taken care of as long as she maintained good grades, which she has. 2. My fiancé and I both make good money right now. Enough to start up a new college fund and to get by with all the added child expenses. We literally looked at our finances to make sure we were financially ready before trying to have a baby. 3. This money has been set aside long before my fiancé was even in the picture. But she says this pandemic has shown that there could be a time in the future where we won't be financially stable, and why risk our child's well-being when there's that money for us to save now? I don't see it that way and don't feel it's fair to my niece when I promised her this, and now I'm being accused of not caring about our future child and preferring my niece over them. And being made into the bad guy for not wanting to keep that money. So I'd like to know what others think. Am I being an A for wanting to use this money for what I always intended instead of saving it for my child? Edit. I know it's late since I've posted this, but I'd like to add that this is out of character for my fiancée because she's done a lot to help my niece too. This is mostly a financial anxiety for her given the pandemic and that there could be a time where we both are unemployed. I'm taking steps to try to ease that anxiety so that we're both more secure about the well-being of our kid in the future. Not the a-hole. Your SO has no right to come into the picture and demand what you do in regards to money you set aside with a purpose before she even entered the picture. At this rate, I almost recommend a prenup. We both agreed to wanting a prenup, so that's already taken care of. Not the a-hole, but consider mutual life insurance policies to give your fiancé peace of mind financially. Not the a-hole, but you absolutely would be if you took back the promise you made to your niece. This really doesn't have much to do with your fiancé since it isn't impacting her. Oh no, I don't intend to. That's why I was wondering if I was an a-hole for not wanting to use that money for anything other than investing in her future. Not the a-hole. And your fiancé is unbelievably selfish. This is money you set aside for your niece. It's not like you're taking food out of your baby's mouth. It's possible that the fiancé is just freaking out from being pregnant during a pandemic. She might come around after she has some time to think about it. Some women get a bit weird / overprotective of their unborn kid, and she might be having an anxiety attack. She might literally be envisioning some major catastrophe that reduces them to poverty, leaving her unable to properly care for the soon-to-be kid. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for refusing to sit in on my wife's breastfeeding class?" My wife, 36 female, and I, 35 male, have been married for 3 years, but together since we were 21 and 22. She is a couple months pregnant. Ever since she got pregnant, it was like she went from how she's always been since she was 22, fun, energetic, ambitious, and spontaneous, to the personality of a stereotypical person in a nursing home. It seems we cannot have any regular adult conversation because increasingly, all she's been doing is reading very detailed books about the birthing process, and discussing the contents of the book makes for extremely graphic imagery. It seems this gory stuff has become her idea of fun and better alternative to, I don't know, going on a staycation, dressing up and doing something, or heck, even going to the mall and buying nice things for each other. I'm at the end of my rope in terms of this gore, but the doctors and the relatives all say this isn't gore. It's just labor fluids and poop. So, my wife signed up for the online version of our local hospital's breastfeeding class. She started twisting my arm in terms of being there when one of her mom friends said her husband was going to be there. I told her that I was sure he was the only one because I can't imagine how weird and awkward it would be for a bunch of men to be there talking about breasts and the detailed gory functions of it in front of a bunch of women. My wife relented for a while, but the day of class, aka yesterday, she got an email where the subjects was couples participating. She got mad because it seemed like everybody's husbands were going to be there and there was going to be a portion where couples had to partner up and be taught how to pump and support. I told her once again the thought of it already made me feel like it was gory, and just talking about what Woody talked about is just inappropriate to me, and I have a large gag reflex, so just imagining what they would be describing would affect me. I don't get why I needed a class learning about how her breast lactates, when I wasn't the one pumping and could support her from afar. My wife stormed out, and after the class, she said she was just sitting there while everybody else partnered up, and that she hated me for embarrassing her like that. Am I the a-hole for thinking a practically public lesson about breast fluids and function is awkward, and not something I need to be a part of to be supportive? You're the a-hole. I'm so sorry for your wife. Her husband and soon-to-be father of her child is unsupportive and childish. Get over yourself. She can't just choose to ignore the situation, and neither can you. If you care about your wife and your future child, you'll act like it. This dude sounds straight resentful about their lives being disrupted. I'm guessing he's not into having a kid at this late date. Too bad his wife is growing a kid and cannot act like a 22-year-old at the moment, huh? You're the a-hole. You really need to grow up, fast. Your wife will poo herself when she gives birth. She could tear herself apart pushing a human being out of her. There will be blood. There will be many different bodily fluids. And you're whining about having to learn how her breasts will feed your child? You are going to be a parent soon. Start acting like it. This is your life now. I'm glad she realizes and she's so on the ball about it, because you're useless. On the list of gross stuff that OP would have to deal with, taking about/watching his wife breastfeed won't even crack the top 10. Everything related to labor, of course. Then the baby who will poop, pee, spit up, vomit, burp, fart, sneeze, with many of those fluids landing on him. However, it seems OP will be one of those fathers who barely touches his child, so I guess he won't have to worry. You don't seem very mature or the least bit understanding. Your wife is pregnant and now she's been focused on pregnancy? Well, of course. Also, if you think this is gore, then you're probably not ready for a kid. And as far as being embarrassed to go to a class where they talk about breasts, are you sure you're not a child? You're the a-hole. You're the a-hole. This isn't gory, it's all a part of childbirth and raising kids. What's next? You won't change any of the baby's diapers because that's too gory or your gaga reflex will act up. This is part of having kids, and you absolutely should be supporting your wife. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for showing my ex's text messages to my kids? A bit of background: I have been divorced for over 4 years. My ex was extremely mistreating and I stayed out of fear for far too long. Now I am free and so much happier. Well, mostly happy because being single in your late 30s sucks. My ex and I have 2 kids together, J, 9 male, and K, 11 female. I have primary custody while he has scheduled visitation 2 weekends a month and every other holiday, because the courts say that since he only physically mistreated me and not the kids, that he deserves visitation. The courts did not consider the emotional mistreatment at all. That should be enough background. Here is the latest drama from my ex. A few years after the divorce, my ex started to lie to my kids about me, and tell them I said things that I didn't in text messages, and that I said bad things about them in the text messages. After a couple of visits with me always saying that what my ex said wasn't true, I got fed up. My kids are both advanced for their age and are both really smart. I sat them down and showed them all the texts from their father to me and my replies. It quickly became clear to them that their father lied about everything and even lied to me, no surprise there, about a lot of things. The kids saw the truth and the issue was addressed, at least in my home. Since then, I have had an open phone policy so the kids know all the text messages between their father and I. Louise has repeatedly tried to lie to the kids since then, but then the kids will point out that they already read the messages in question and therefore know the truth. This infuriates my ex. Lately he is claiming that since I allow my kids to read his messages to me, that I am practicing parental alienation and that it is harming the kids. He often will insult the kids and me in these text messages and it offends the kids. We only text about visitation and other kid stuff, but he has a tendency to go off on a tangent to insult me and eventually ends up insulting the kids. Basically, he throws a fit in the text messages when he doesn't get what he wants when he wants it. I don't give in to his rudeness anymore, at least I try not to, as I am trying to grow a backbone. Here is where I think he might be right and I am an a-hole. The kids are really offended by his constant lack of respect during their visits. Now with the insulting text messages the kids are verbally voicing that they hate their father. The text messages have no cuss words but they are mean and bellying. Therefore they are making them resent their father more. I may be the a-hole because I am letting my kids read text messages that are only meant for my eyes. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Take all this to a lawyer and get custody reduced for a-hole husband. And get counseling for your kids. Not the a-hole. His actions are the problem, not yours. Your children have a right to know, for their own safety and peace of mind, not left to think they're being raised by a crazy mother. Get to a lawyer, show them the texts and prepare to get in front of anything the ex may try. Get your kids into counseling or therapy, so they have the tools to deal with the emotional turmoil. Good luck. My kids are in counseling. The counselor knows about me letting them see the texts and why. I can't afford a lawyer. I really don't know in this one, but what I do know is that I feel incredible sadness for the kids. They don't deserve this. I agree. They absolutely do not deserve their dad trying to poison them against their mom. Not to mention putting mom in the position to where she needs to defend herself. Thank you for seeing my predicament. Not the a-hole for showing them the texts. This involves them since daddy is making up claims. But you will be the a-hole if you don't take this issue to court. Let your kids straight up tell that daddy is lying about mommy, etc. He is the one alienating a parent himself, while trying to do it to you. He is the one painting himself as a bad guy with his behavior, which includes essentially trying to gaslight you. He doesn't deserve unsupervised visits. He could have 2 to 4 hours every Sunday with an escort or such. I don't have the money for a lawyer and wish I could afford one. The pandemic wiped out all my savings and my work hours have been drastically reduced. I am currently looking for a new job. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone. Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for telling my nibbling's former stepmother she has no reason to contact me anymore? 10 years ago I lost my sister. She had 2 kids, Elodie, 15 female, and Luca, 13 male, who were only 5 and 3 at the time of her passing. Her husband Mike met Susan about 3 years later. They were together for 2 years, had 2 kids, and were very newly married when he passed away. When Mike died, the kids wanted to stay with my parents and my parents wanted custody of the kids, but Susan wanted to keep and adopt them. A court battle ensued. Before the court case was finished, I retained temporary custody of them. The judge named my parents as the legal guardians, and suggested they try to keep them in touch with their younger half-siblings. Susan made that difficult. She was a struggling single mom and would expect my family to provide for her kids when they would see my nibblings. When they wouldn't, she prevented them from meeting and so contact was very limited. Except she stopped communication with my parents years ago now, but she will still reach out to me. She will still make a fuss about us stealing her kids, and how we denied them a parent by taking them from her. More recently, she started asking me to bring them to her upcoming 40th birthday party. I started to ignore her and she got more persistent. I told her to stop and to speak to my parents. She ignored me, so I told her that she had no reason to contact me anymore, that my nibblings were not her children, she was not in their lives anymore, and she needed to either let it go, or speak to my nibblings' actual custodial relatives. This apparently was so nasty to say because not only did she react to what I sent her, but Mike's parents said I was too harsh, and that she was still their family as their siblings' mom, and it was such a shame the kids didn't grow to love and appreciate Susan in that length of time, but it doesn't mean I should crap on her when she still cares so much. I fired back that she can't care too much when she stopped her kids from seeing them because we didn't give them gifts. They had no real answer for that, because even they weren't allowed to facilitate access. I do wonder if I should have been less harsh though. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, because it sounds like she would have no reason to contact you at all. If she wants to keep all the siblings in contact, she should go through the dad's parents, since the dad is their connection. Poor kids. I hope they have adjusted well. That is a lot to go through. Exactly. The kids should be getting together at Mike's parents. OP's parents should not be expected to take this on since Mike's parents are in the picture. Not the a-hole, because like you've made it clear to her, it's not up to you on whether she gets to see the kids. She messed up and is just trying to get you to side with her so she can throw it back on your parents. Exactly, not the a-hole. Good thing she didn't get the kids since she could barely afford the 2 she had. It sounds more like she wanted them to get financial help from OP's side of the family. But no custody, no help. Not the a-hole. This woman needs to get a grip. She sued for custody and lost. Years later, it's high time she got on with it and moved on. Something actions have consequences. Not the a-hole. She showed true colors when everyone would bend to her will, do what she wanted and pay for children they have no relation to. She has zero reason to be contacting you other than she doesn't want to deal with your parents because she hates them. She's pissy she lost a custody battle that realistically never should have taken place. Why did she need your parents to try and foot the bill? Was she bothering Mike's parents for money? Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law she can't make rules about what happens at my house? So my wife, 29 female, and I, 26 male, are considered the fun aunt and uncle to our nieces and nephews, 12 female, 11 male, 9 male, 7 female, and 3 male. These are from my wife's side of the family. We do activities with kids and play with them unlike the other aunts and uncles of the family. Even though we don't have kids yet, we keep a toy chest full of toys for the kids to play with, and encourage the kids' interests. We also have craft stuff and my wife teaches educational lessons. In our house we encourage the kids to be themselves, but we follow the rules their parents set for them. Sister-in-law 1 has always had a relaxed parenting style, and the kids can be a little wild but know when they need to behave, and we are very close to her children. Sister-in-law 2 has the 3-year-old who we will call Alex, and has chosen a different approach to parenting. She is very strict and has many rules about what her child can do. The big thing is, she doesn't want the child to see anything that is considered rough or angry. Like the kids can't play cops and robbers in front of Alex. I also got the older kids some padded blow-up fighting gear and they can't use it if Alex is around. Also forget Nerf guns or shooting at creepers on Minecraft. Forget football too. I understand her concerns and we adjust accordingly when Alex is around. This last weekend, we had the family over and the older kids were playing tag and yelling at each other, and while I admit they were loud, I wouldn't say it was unreasonable. Sister-in-law too came out and says that they need to stop yelling and she doesn't want Alex to learn to yell. I told her that they were fine and sister-in-law one agreed with me. She also wants us to stop doing rough activities even when Alex isn't around, because she doesn't want him to feel left out. She also wants us to only use organic and gluten-free foods for the kids. I told her she does not dictate what we do with the other children when Alex isn't around and she cannot expect the children to just sit and be quiet. She is saying I am isolating her child and that I'm an a-hole for not treating the kids equally. I told her we follow her rules with Alex but her rules don't apply to the other children. Though a part of me knows that there are other things we could do, I hate putting restrictions on the other kids. So, am I the a-hole for telling my sister-in-law she can't make rules for what goes on in my house? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Her rules apply only to her kid. If she wants the kid to live in Wonderland, that's her problem, and unfortunately the kid problem too when life and reality shows up. Sadly, that's her kid's problem too. This is not a normal way to raise a kid. Exactly, like what's her plan here? Hide any and all knowledge of anything that could be seen as rough or angry? That's not gonna work. Those concepts are pervasive throughout not only society, but the very nature of being human. They're going to be exposed to it anyway, short of literally imprisoning her kid. Even if she manages to successfully keep her kid completely ignorant of these things until they start school or something, they're going to be exposed to it, and they won't have any idea what's going. They'll probably freak the fuck out. Keeping your kid ignorant of extremely common basic things like this will only harm your kid. Not the a-hole. You aren't isolating Alex, she is. If she doesn't like what goes on at your house, maybe Alex should play with approved friends. Tiddlywinks is non-contact. Ooh no. Can't have tiddlywinks because it's competitive, and the poor little angel's soul might be crushed if they lose. Seriously, over-coddling a child is almost abusive, as they are not learning to operate in the real world. When fantasy land and the real world collide, it's brutal, and shielding a child from reality opens them to future bullying or exploitation. Not the a-hole. I get the football and Nerf guns, but you respect all that. What I don't get, the yelling, snacks, and tag. What does she think will happen when the kid gets to daycare, preschool, or kindergarten? That kids won't be loud or play tag? That all kids will eat the same snacks? That kids will never be a little hectic and crazy? Her not wanting her kid to learn to yell, or in my opinion, be a kid, is weird. If Alex is a quiet child, that's perfectly fine. But doesn't sound like Alex will get a choice. You are respecting her rules when Alex is around, but you do not have to ruin the fun for the other kiddos, especially because their parents are for those gasp loud activities. I don't get the football and Nerf guns. The mom is obviously a bit nutty. Kids, especially boys, like playing loud, sometimes aggressive games. As long as it isn't actively unsafe, let them burn off the energy. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to take our niece on vacation in 2022? My husband and I do not have kids, but many nieces/nephews. A number of years ago, when we were late 20s and finally financially secure, our oldest niece was in senior year of high school and we decided to take her on a beach vacation for a week. This has since become a tradition where we take the nibbling on a vacation during their senior year. Since this began, there has always been one nibbling each year. Then in 2020 to 2023 there are no nibblings graduating high school, so we won't be taking one on vacation until 2024. We've always made it clear it's a senior trip and not us just working our way through them. We intentionally want to do it this way, as we do not want to travel with younger teenagers/children. They are 17 or 18 when we take them, which means we can give them their own room. We keep a key, and do adjoining rooms, but that gives all of us privacy. They can do more excursions, and we can meet them for breakfast, or leave them unsupervised if we want to get a drink/snack. We don't need to actively monitor them by water, and it's so much easier to airport travel with 17 or 18. A couple weeks ago, our sister-in-law said Jess was looking forward to planning her trip with us. Jess is next in line, currently in grade 9. Husband said she's rather eager since her trip is 2024, but so great she's excited. Sister-in-law gave us death glares, and I asked if we had misaged her, and sister-in-law said no. Jess is grade 9 but assumed she would be going in 2022 since she's next in line. Sister-in-law had ordered her travel books to help her plan, which we found odd, as we involve the nibbling in the planning, but we give them limited choices and they don't get a carte blanche. We usually give them a choice of 3 locations, then from there a choice of resort. We told her that the trip is for senior year, so she needs to wait until 2024. Sister-in-law was angry, and Jess has had a hard time with pandemic, so we offered to fly her out to visit us for a week. We live in a major city, for a change of scenery, but the major trip isn't until 2024. Sister-in-law is furious, though Jess is disappointed but seems to get it. The older nibblings are on our side and said it was a fun thing for them in senior year, while other adults are conflicted, with some thinking we should just go through the list, taking 1 nibbling a year, regardless of age. We are not parents, so maybe we aren't as empathetic as we should be, so are we the a-holes for wanting to wait until our nibblings are in senior year to take them on vacation? Edit. The first child we did this for was Jess's older half-sister. Their biological dad, husband's brother, was widowed and had our oldest niece, then remarried to Jess's mother and had Jess and 2 more kids. This might be a factor in sister-in-law's reaction, I have no idea. We have talked to Jess directly. She is not upset. She was disappointed that her big trip wasn't next year but understood the purpose of the trip. We've given her some location ideas as her mother had suggestions that are the opposite side of the world. Now for the comments. It sounds like you made it pretty clear that it's a senior trip. Not the a-hole, and how entitled is sister-in-law thinking she gets to complain about when you're taking her kid on an all-expenses-paid vacation? I mean, it sounds like the entirety of the problem is the sister-in-law. Kid was misled to believe it would happen next year, now understands it won't and is okay with it. Sister-in-law is the only person throwing a fit, and the only a-hole. Not the a-hole. Looks like sister-in-law is the real child here. Holy crap, yes. My husband just video called his brother and sister-in-law was in the room, saw it was husband, rolled her eyes, and then left the room. Not the a-hole. Your trip, your rules. Your sister-in-law shouldn't be horning in on the planning. Not the a-hole. I think what you guys are doing for your nibblings is so beyond generous and so amazing. Sister-in-law is an a-hole for telling her child otherwise. You have made it clear from the start. She didn't even talk to you about it first. She just bought travel books and is telling her child to pick a place? That's entitlement. I would tell her to stop, or you're just going to stop the tradition. If anyone ruins it, it's going to be her. Picking up brochures threw my husband off. We've always tried to keep them fair. We usually pick places that are meaningful to the nibbling. So the first year we took the niece to St. Martin, Dutch side, as her biological mother, deceased, was Dutch and had traveled there, so thought it would be meaningful for the niece to go a place where her mother had walked, and get in touch a bit with her Dutch heritage. We took a nephew to Hawaii because he was a major history student and longed to see Pearl Harbor. Well, sister-in-law gave niece books about Fiji, Tahiti, Bali, Bora Bora, places that are beyond what we've ever done. So not only is she getting her hopes about going in 2022, but also the locations she's telling her, while we could afford it, we want to keep the trips fair. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for getting upset at my brother and sister-in-law after they announced publicly, without telling me before, that they were naming their daughter the same name as the child I lost at 38 weeks pregnant? In January I, 25 female, and my husband, 36 male, lost our daughter when I was 38 weeks along. It was a totally healthy pregnancy until I went into labor and she didn't make it. Her name was going to be Isabella Rose. I'm not one of those people who claim a name. My sister-in-law, 28 female, told me how much she loved the name Isabella when we first announced it, and joked around that she was sad her and my brother couldn't use it for their future children. We found out she was pregnant right around the time I lost my Isabella. It was hard at first, but I'm so happy for my sister-in-law and brother, 32 male, and I'm truly so happy that our family is going to have a little baby to mush over, and I can't wait to spoil the crap out of my little niece. This morning though, my sister-in-law made the official announcement she's having a girl, which I already knew, and also that her name is going to be Isabella Rose, which I did not know. They say they're doing it to honor my baby's memory. Which I think is great, but I found out over Facebook. Just like everyone else. I feel like this is something they should have consulted me with first. Because the truth is, even though I think it's sweet, I also wish they wouldn't. A middle name maybe? Or something like that. Maybe this is petty and childish of me because like I said I've never been one to claim a name, but this name is now so personal to me. My husband and I talk to our Isabella Rose every day. I'm in therapy, but I'm not over losing her yet. And I know that's not my sister-in-law or brother's issue, but isn't it something they should have consulted me about first? Finding out over social media really hurts, especially since the name is supposed to be honoring my child. But I also know I'm still pretty deep in the grieving process, so I don't know if I'm being irrational or not. Am I the a-hole? Should I just thank them for honoring my kid and move on? I'm so sorry for your loss. And I'm sorry that your sister-in-law and brother are such insensitive jerks. They are being incredibly cruel and are using the excuse of honoring your daughter to be selfish. If Isabella Rose was honestly the only name in the whole world they wanted, unlikely but not impossible I suppose, then the very least they could have done is sit down with you privately to discuss it. Them announcing publicly is a tactic designed to make you feel unable to speak up and voice your discomfort. If you feel able to perhaps talk with your therapist about scripts for discussing this with them, it might be easier to write them a letter so you don't have to have this conversation in person. You are 100% not the a-hole. Exactly. Or send them a link to this post in the above comment. Sorry for your loss. Not the a-hole. Not at all. This is cruel and thoughtless behavior, and I don't believe for a second they meant to honor your daughter. If they had, they would have asked if it would feel like an honor to you, privately, before deciding, instead of just announcing it on Facebook to make it harder for you to object. Feel free to approach them gently as if they meant well when you tell them it will harm and not help you, but I fully expect their response will be gaslighting and petulant, which will confirm that this was never about honoring you. Not the a-hole. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm petty. I would reply to their post on Facebook, I was so surprised to see this here. I had no idea you were thinking of offering to honor my deceased daughter by using both of her given names. It's going to take quite a bit of getting used to, as I still address my Isabella Rose by name when I think about her. We'll let you know how the adjustment goes, and leave it at that. I like this passive viciousness. The only thing more brutal would be, please do not name your child after the child in birth I lost less than 8 months ago. I'm still grieving my daughter and I understand you meant to honor her, but I really wish you'd asked me or at least told me first, and that's so painfully blunt that honestly if I were in OP's situation, I wouldn't be able to do it. It's just too much to bear. Not the a-hole. If they asked you and said, hey, can we name our child this to honor you? That would have been fine and dandy because they asked permission, but they didn't. They had no consent and have no idea how rude and disrespectful it is when they knew, so it wasn't some accidental having the same name because they knew. And they used the excuse of your child's name for their actions when they didn't even confront you. And they had the freaking nerve to post it on social media. I am so sorry OP, they had no right to do that. And I'm sorry for your loss. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone. Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for not helping my sister convince our dad to go to her wedding? I, 32 male, have a sister, 29 female, who is technically my half-sister, and for the purposes of this story, I'll be referring to her as Jane. Our parents divorced when I was 15, and I never knew why until after Jane's 18th birthday, and our dad told her he found out she wasn't his bio kid. It was with someone who he considered a good friend, and because of it, he never wanted to see or hear from him again. However, Dad understood that now that she was an adult, she was free to make her own choices, and if she wanted to meet her bio dad, he would understand. Obviously, this was a huge shock, and my sister did feel some guilt over her existence, but my dad did reassure her that it was all her mother's fault and that she shouldn't carry the blame. For 2 years, Jane never showed any intention of wanting to meet her bio dad, until a paternal aunt reached out to her through social media requesting that she visit for the sake of her paternal grandmother. Jane was the only granddaughter on that side, and her bio grandmother always wanted to meet her. After building a rapport with the aunt and her children, Jane decided to meet the grandmother and for the first time see her bio dad. She said it felt awkward, but eventually she built a relationship with him and the rest of his family, and I could tell my dad didn't like it but kept to himself for the most part. He only ever really said that while, again, she was free to have a relationship with him, my dad would not attend any events that her bio dad was a part of as he could barely tolerate our mom, refused to play nice with the ex-friend who betrayed him. Everyone, except my mom, seemed to be accepting of this for a while until Jane got engaged and the issue of who would walk her down the aisle came up. Originally, it was assumed that since my dad was coming, her bio dad would not, but my sister actually had a change of heart after getting to know her bio dad, and wanted both of her fathers to be there. My dad refused and said that since he already walked down his eldest, our sister Amy, 35 female, down the aisle, he was fine not doing it again, and opted not to come while still agreeing to help pay for everything. Jane was very upset, and now her fiancé, my mom, and members of the maternal side of the family are all calling him selfish for no longer coming. My mom and Jane are trying to get me to convince my dad to come, but I don't see him as the bad guy in this. His ex-wife passed off another man's child as his own and still agreed to have a relationship with her when he didn't have to, was fine with her having a relationship with the guy, and is still willing to foot the bill for a lot of the wedding expenses. My dad was always upfront about his stance on the matter, and the way I see it, Jane should feel lucky he didn't cut her out of his life when she was 12. I also think that it's insulting that Jane is trying to give her bio dad equal treatment when my dad got stuck doing all the work. So, am I the a-hole? Added to add. Okay, just to be clear. This isn't just about attendance. Jane originally wanted both our dad and her bio dad to walk her down the aisle, and each have a father-daughter dance too. That's where I also think that it's insulting that Jane is trying to give her bio dad equal treatment. Line is coming from. Added to add too, just so we're clear, I never told my sister or told anyone, outside of this Reddit post, that Jane should feel lucky that our dad choose to still be a part of her life. But I am starting to wonder if she ever really appreciated what my dad did for her, if she's so willing to make the guy who knocked up her mom with her and then left an equal. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your dad did the right thing by not punishing Jane for the betrayal by your mom and the fake friend. However, he has the right to set a limit that he will not be in the same place as that man. It sucks for Jane, but she made this choice knowing dad's boundaries. Agreed, not the a-hole. Ask your sister the next time, why are you trying to hurt dad when he's already told you he's hurting from what happened? He did enough for you by raising you without having you feel less than. Stop trying to manipulate and pressure him into being in an uncomfortable situation. Not the a-hole, because it's not your fight to make, and your dad clearly set his boundaries. Yes, the day is about your sister, and your dad doesn't want to ruin that by how he will react to her bio dad's presence. Exactly. I want to start this by saying that your father is such a good man for continuing to love and support Jane, even after finding out she's not his biologically. Obviously, he doesn't want to see the woman who pretended a child was his for 12 years, and the man he considered a friend that betrayed him. Jane should respect these simple boundaries and understand that he doesn't want to be brought back into the hurt he felt. You are in no way the a-hole for trying to force your father into doing something he doesn't want to do and respecting his boundaries. Neither you or your father are the a-holes. Only your sister and family are for attacking him. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Your father did the right thing by raising Jane even with the betrayal your mother inflicted to him. This being said, the rest of the family are quite the a-holes by forcing him to do anything with the Jane's bio family. He made his desire known and he's sticking to his guns. Lots of respect. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for not splitting my mom's life insurance evenly? My mom died in October after a long illness. We knew she was sick and wouldn't have too long. Once we found this out, my wife and I figured out our finances to purchase a life insurance policy, knowing we would be the ones to have to take care of everything when the time finally came. It was a $10,000 policy, nothing extravagant, but enough to cover costs related to the death, and any bills she may have had left over. Well, the time came, we took care of everything, and by the time it was all said and done, there was about $7,000 left. I have one biological brother who is 18 months younger than me. We are not close in any way, and have been no contact for most of the last 10 years. He isn't necessarily a bad guy, but he lives his life in and out of jail, on and off substances, etc. Just not something I want to be around or expose my kids to. My mom always had a soft spot for him, and always seemed to think I was too hard/mean for cutting contact. She had this idea that someday I would get over the past, and we could be close again. In honor of her memory, I gave him $1,000 of the policy because I know he could use the money. I took the remaining $6,000 and split it between my boys' college fund. I'm not sure how he found out, my mom probably told him before she died, but he knows the total payout of the policy, and is demanding half. I told him that's not happening, and more or less went no contact again. Over the past couple months, he has been talking to our family, and I'm getting a lot of crap from them for not being fair. He has started threatening legal action, which I know won't go anywhere. I will be the first to admit, I don't have much respect/goodwill, heck, even love towards him. I don't know if that's clouding my judgment here or not. I know he could use the money, but honestly, I just don't want to give it to him, and I don't know if that makes me an a-hole or not. Edit: this is a policy that I paid for entirely, no money came from my brother for the policy. Not the a-hole. This wasn't an inheritance. This was an insurance policy you and your wife paid for to help cover expenses after your mother passed. You were already more than kind enough to give him what you did, and now he's just being greedy. Explain to the rest of your family that it was an insurance policy you took out, not an inheritance, and if they want your brother to have more money, they can give him some. Otherwise, they should keep their noses out of your business. This, not the a-hole. You paid for it, and not a dime from your brother. The fact that you even gave him money is generous. Let him take you to court if he wants to, there won't be a ruling in his favor. While you're at it, ask that he compensated your time by paying for the attorney fees for a frivolous lawsuit, they might grant it to you. Not the a-hole. You bought the policy to cover expenses, not your mom, not your brother, not the rest of the family, which means that policy belongs to you. Had your mom been the one to buy the policy, it would need to be split equally. Not necessarily. If mom bought the policy and put OP as 100% beneficiary, no, he still would not have to give any to brother. It still would have been his money to take care of the final expenses and all the after effects for her. Not the a-hole. You paid for the insurance out of pocket to cover her passing expenses. It's wild you got out of the burial and whatnot for only $3,000, but what's left over is for you to do what you want with. You were generous enough to give him $1,000. She didn't want a service, which helped a lot with costs. We just had the fees from cremation and all that stuff, plus a couple bills that needed to be closed out. Next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for wanting to be in charge of the college fund for my sister's kids?" So my sister has 2 kids with 2 different dads, and financially, they are all just a mess. The kids are 4 and 6, and every time a birthday or holiday rolls around, I think about how I would rather put money in some kind of long-term savings option, instead of just continuing to buy them junk, since they get enough toys and stuff from everyone else. So, I was thinking about a 529 plan. I will open one for each kid and contribute money, but I will own the account. I mentioned it to my sister, who mentioned it to her current boyfriend and youngest dad, mentioning that anyone that wants to can contribute. He said he didn't think it was fair that I would own the account, and that I should put my sister's name on it. I told him that they can open one for themselves, but I would rather just open my own. I didn't specifically say that I am not interested in putting money into an account with any of their names on it, not my sister, and certainly not either of the 2 dads. None of them have any money or financial stability, and I know that they will not only not fund the account themselves, but do their best to drain any money in the account despite penalties or taxes. This is one of the main reasons I want to do this. To be clear, while I plan to let anyone I think may be interested in this know that they can add money, I don't care if they do. I'm simply trying to make the money I spend on these kids worth something. After talking it over, they have decided that they only want the kids to have one college savings account and they will open it. I said that's great, then I will probably buy them savings bonds or something since they will have college covered. That did not go over well, as now my sister thinks I don't trust her to do it right, and her boyfriend for some reason thinks that the only reason I wanted to open it myself, is because I wanted other people to contribute only so I can eventually take off with the money. He called me a string of names. My sister thinks I'm the a-hole. So, am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but stop telling them anything. Start the account, contribute as you will, and don't say anything to anybody until the kids are old enough to use it. Outside of getting the appropriate social security numbers, you shouldn't have any problem. Lots of people have said don't tell them anything, but it sounds like OP is planning to contribute to these accounts, instead of buying the children Christmas and birthday presents. So OP has to either tell the parents this or look like they have forgotten/ignored the children's birthday and Christmases. Not the a-hole, and I would never put money into an account in their names either. They want access to it for some reason that probably has nothing to do with college. You can always open a savings account for each child in your name and their name if you want to. Not the a-hole, and don't hesitate to own your reason. No, I don't trust you, not even a little bit. I'm not obliged to give your children anything, however if I do decide to contribute to their future, it will be under my terms and within my control. Make no apologies. Furthermore, never give your sister or her partner the slightest hint of the value of your savings. The guilt of "we need that money now" is not worth it. Keep your answers neutral with, "that depends on the value of the fund," or "it's a surprise for a kid when they come of age." Her boyfriend for some reason thinks that the only reason I wanted to open it myself is because I wanted other people to contribute only so I can eventually take off with the money. Funny how people that can't trust themselves project their crap onto others and assume everyone would act as badly. You've, presumably, given them no reason not to trust you, and yet they're getting irritated that you want to give their kids money that they can't touch. Raises an eyebrow and frowns. Not the a-hole. But, if you want to open an account for the kids, do it. Their parents obviously won't save much if anything for them. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not helping my sister adopt a child when I have experience and contacts? I, 30 female, am a foster and adoptive mom. I have 3 children at present and we are actively fostering. I have been a foster parent for several years now. For me it is something I knew I wanted from an early age. My sister, 34 female, has a similar story in that she always wanted children. She married her husband almost 8 years ago. He had 3 kids who are now 20, 15 and 14. I think she thought she was going to become a mom through his children. But that is not how things have worked out, and now she wants the chance to be a mom. So, she has talked about adoption and how she wants to be a mother and have a child who will call her mom and return her love. So, my husband and I did not go through an agency for our children. However, we do have connections at the local agency because of our experience, and because a former social worker/friend of ours works there. My sister wanted me to help her get a meeting and put in a good word for her, but I had to say no due to concerns I have. I feel like my sister has this idealized image of adoption and she is wanting to be the only mom for a child. But while she will be doing the hard work, there will always be a biological mother out there. And some biological mothers are people trying to give their kids a better life. Some have had hard lives and realize they are not equipped. And it's never as simple as that. I know she would not be able to handle a birth family wanting contact or even a potential child wanting a relationship with birth family down the line. She does not have an ideal home life for a child, given the 2 kids still living there are not on board with the idea and there is daily tension in the home according to my sister and her husband. I also don't believe she would be honest with a child. I don't believe she would honor an open adoption. And for those reasons, as a mom through adoption, I can't help. I told her this and she was pissed. She told me I was trying to ruin her life and I'm denying her a chance at motherhood. I suggested she see a therapist I once did who helps with the adoption process, and helps people decide if adoption is for them. But she said as her sister I should be willing to help her get her start in adopting, and by now I am judging her more harshly than she deserves. Am I the a-hole? Am I the a-hole for not helping my sister, who is incapable of providing for more kids, get more kids? That's what you're asking us. The answer is obviously a no. Welfare of the child is paramount. Not the a-hole. She said you were trying to ruin her life, but in reality, you're just not ruining a child's life. Not the a-hole. The fact she thinks OP is trying to ruin her life is pretty indicative of why the sister is not a good candidate. It's not about providing for a kid in the system, it's about her getting her idea of the perfect family. Not the a-hole. Adoption is a huge decision and everyone involved needs to say yes. There is nothing worse than living in a home where your own siblings hate you/don't want you there. From what you described, the kid would not be happy there considering the parents are fighting and so on. Also, biggest red flag that she probably won't honor the adoption agreement. Not the a-hole. You did recommend a therapist that would be a start in the process, but your sister said no. Big red flag is this should be the start of the adoption process, so everyone has clear understanding of what is going to happen. Adoptee here. I wish my parents had gotten therapy to deal with their infertility before they adopted me, and my other adoptive sibs. They were super good parents, loving, attentive, etc., but they did not deal well with our questions about biofamily, circumstances, etc. My mom always burst into tears and I learned really early to not ask those questions. Even now as an adult, I keep my relationship with my bio mom separate from my family. It's freaking ridiculous if you must know. Still pussyfooting around an elderly woman's feelings because she never addressed them. Also an adoptee who was raised in the lingering grief of infertility, and you are absolutely correct about how ridiculous and emotionally exhausting it is. Too often, adoptees are expected or instinctively know to conceal any reality about adoption that might be unpleasant for our parents. My mother couldn't even be happy when my sister-in-law or I were pregnant with her grandchildren, since it was just a reminder of what she never got to experience. And that's it for this video guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone. Relationship advice. Full story. I, 26, think my girlfriend of 5 years is cheating on me, but I might just be paranoid. Original post. Okay, first off, I was, still am if I'm just going insane, to spend the rest of my life with her. I feel sick to my stomach just suspecting this, but I don't know, I just feel as if something is wrong. Let me explain. Okay, so these last years she has been staying with me, I pay rent/food, everything, and I have been putting in extra hours to fast track my career. The only problem with this is, she is demanding I have to speak to her every half an hour on Skype, and always let her know where I am going. Not complaining, I love it, and when I am not working, I have to spend it with her. The last few months she has been complaining that I don't give her all the attention that she needs, and I have sat her down and said that when I am not with her, I am building a life for us. Here is where the problem comes in. The last few weeks she hasn't been asking for any attention. I mean none. When I come home, she is happy and talks to me, but in the day, dead silence. I know this girl better than her parents, talking is like breathing. But if she isn't communicating with me, then with who? Can't be her friends because not one of them can talk with her for so much, and I don't think she is giving me room because she tells me everything she does. I asked her why so quiet, and she said I was just really busy. How can being unemployed be busy? I know this must sound crazy from an outside perspective, but I can't shake the feeling that she is getting her emotional outlet from someone else. I can feel it in my bones, something is off, and it's killing me. Oh. She or me has never cheated to my knowledge, and I have never ever suspected or thought she was capable till now. Now for the top advice before reading the first update. Well, having to contact your SO every 30 minutes is unhealthy. But anyways, maybe she just took your advice. Since you guys talked about it? When some people react to something, they go over the top. So she was probably upset that you said you can't spend all your time with her, which is reasonable. So she's exaggerating your solution by cutting all daytime contact, hoping on making you feel uneasy. It's pretty immature, but just ride it out. Her stubborn actions will cool off a little and you guys may settle into a more normal groove. Or feel free to talk to her about it. Honey, it's okay to contact me once or twice a day. It doesn't have to be black and white. Just before it was little too much. Also, for curiosity's sake, why are you paying for everything and she doesn't have a job? Sounds like a sweet deal. Can I be your girlfriend? Thank you. Make me feel a lot better. It's an agreement we have, she looks after me and I look after her. But as to your advice, this could be true but I don't know, I have a gut feeling. I think you're having a gut feeling, and if so, I think you should see it through. Just be wary of what you may find at the end. As usual, if someone has something to hide, they're not going to just tell you when you ask them. You will have to find the truth for yourself. I am not a huge fan of snooping, but if you're that curious, shrug. Also, I think both of you, regardless of the above, need to sit down and figure stuff out. For starters, why doesn't she work? What about her life and career? Sometimes, women who just sit at home all day get depressed and lonely and unhappy. She should be out doing something. Not to mention, it makes your financial life easier for both of you. Additionally, her feelings of you not spending enough time with her are valid, even if it may not seem like it. Don't get me wrong, I totally get you trying to build a future for you two. Any rational mind will understand that. But what about the emotional one? You see, building a future is a wonderful thing. But it's just that, it's the future. What about the immediate? You're building a future but you're neglecting her immediate needs, and most people put a lot of value into immediate rather than the future. So perhaps if she finds a job, maybe you can cut down on some time working and spend more time with her, and not just time, but quality time. A lot of times when someone says, I need more of your attention, it's not even just time, it's quality of time. Does that apply to you? Do you feel like you spend good, romantic time together? Also, can I also be your girlfriend? I think snooping is in order. I just don't know if it has come to that. Has things really got this bad for me to justify the fact that I'm going through her things? As to her not working, she does keep herself busy with all the things we all wish we could but don't have the time for it. She paints, plays music and draws. I got her an amazing workshop, so it's not like she is sitting on her butt all day. I don't mind, and the idea was that, one day she could be a stay-at-home mom. If this turns out to be nothing, I will talk to her about getting a job, but only if she feel like she wants to get one. As to you being my girlfriend, all I can say is that you have made me smile in a dark time, thank you. Break up with her. You have already 4 potential new girlfriends commenting here who would love to mooch off you. Put a smile on my face. And now for the first update. First off, thanks to anyone who replied to my last post, it's been a hard few days. Okay, so I decided to have a chat with my girl, but only after I did some snooping. Long story short, I now know that she is cheating on me with one of her friends. From what I have gathered from the messages, they have had intercourse a few times and she has no intention of leaving me, but that makes me feel even worse. In the messages, I found the guy was pleading her to leave me, to which she then replied to him that he will never be able to look after her like I do. So, she just with me because I got money. This has completely killed me. I feel like I have broken every bone in my body. I have taken time off work and I'm sitting at a friend's house trying to figure out how I'm going to confront her about this. There is no way that I'm not going to break up with her, but I still don't know what to tell her. I don't want to shout or cry or whatever, I just want her out of my life. I want to pretend that this never happened, and that I did not waste 5 years investing into a relationship that was founded on lies. Anyway, there it is. The crap storm that is my love life. Now for some advice before reading the final update. Just go dark. You'll get no satisfaction or closure from a big teary confrontation. Your soon-to-be ex doesn't deserve an explanation. Edit, I just read in your original post that she lives with you. Move her stuff to storage and change the locks. Then when the police show up to let her back into her legal residence, show them this post, and tell them that above poster told him it was okay. I don't know the OP's country, so I'm unsure about the law. He indicated that she pays no rent, so I assume she isn't on the deed or the lease. In the US at least, the worst case scenario is that, the police make him let her back in, and he has to conduct formal eviction proceedings. That doesn't seem like such a dire potential consequence to me. What am I missing? I want to pretend that this never happened, that I did not waste 5 years investing into a relationship that was founded on lies. Think of it this way, you did not waste 5 years of your life. Although it's a horrible thing to experience, what you did was in fact gather experience. Now you know how sneaky some people can be. They might tell you to your face that they love you over everything else, but in reality, they are sleeping with someone behind your back. Now you know, and can use your experience to avoid getting hurt like that in the future. Anyway, there it is, the crap storm that is my love life. It can only go upwards from here. Instead of wasted, see it as saved. You didn't marry her, had a child, and then found out she cheated on you. Just stay strong. Don't let her talk her way out of it. She'll get emotional. She'll turn on the waterworks. She'll say it didn't mean anything. She'll claim she only said you'd take care of her better because she knew he wouldn't accept that she loves you more. She'll say it was your fault for not paying enough attention to her. She'll say if you leave her now, it'll prove she was right to cheat on you. She'll try to turn it around and make the argument about you spying on her. How you've betrayed her trust. She'll claim you're a monster for breaking up with her when she has no place to go and no means of support. She'll say if you break up with her, she'll end herself. She'll ask that you don't blame yourself if she does. She'll say anything to keep her hand in your wallet. Don't let her. Cut her loose. Edit, to everyone consoling me. None of this has happened to me. I'm just an amateur student of human nature. And now for the final update. Wow, sort of forgot about this update with everything that happened. So, the day I found out of her infidelity, I called my boss and took 2 days off work to sort out this mess. I went over to my best friend's flat, had a long chat with him, but eventually he had to leave for work, so I sat on his couch alone, drinking whiskey out of the bottle. This is when I posted on Reddit. Meanwhile, my girlfriend at the time was in my flat. I own the flat, totally oblivious to the fact that I know. But in my drunken state I devised my plan. Later that day, after sobering up, I called my girlfriend. I told her that I have to eminently leave on a business trip, as my boss who was supposed to go suddenly fell ill, and that I will only be returning on Monday. She started crapping on my head about me working all the time, and how the company does not value me as an employee. At this point, I am grinding my teeth and just using every bit of my willpower not to shout at her. I tell her that I will make it up to her by buying her a weekend spa trip and spa hotel 2 towns over. She agrees and the plan is set in motion. So, I sleep over at my friend place as I am out of town on business. I call her the next day to say that I booked her a bus ticket and spa. She gets pissed off that she can't use my car, but I tell her that the car has been breaking these last few days, and that I don't want her to be stranded 2 towns over. Bus leaves at 12, so I called her 12:10 to hear if she has left. 12:40, I arrive at flat and start to categorize everything in 2 piles, mine and hers. 1 p.m, the 2 moving company trucks arrive that I organized yesterday. A bunch of guys arrive and starts to pack everything into 2 boxes. 3 p.m, locksmith arrives, changes locks. 3:30 p.m, trucks are packed and all is good. So the one truck is taking my stuff to my friend's house, while the other truck is taking all her stuff to a storage locker. I block her on all social networks, phone, email, etc. 4:30 p.m, my friend goes over to the guy who she cheated on me with, gives him the key to the storage locker and tell him what I did. He leaves out the part where I am going to stay. 5 p.m, get back to my friend's house and we open up a bottle of wine and drink to new beginnings. Now knowing that the only place where she can find me is at work, I email a photo of her to company's security office, and tell them that this woman has been harassing me and now knows where I work. She also claims that she is my girlfriend. Please don't let her into the building. Next, I cancel the credit card I gave her, in my name, and stop all money that I put into her accounts every month. So over the course of the week, she has tried contacting me multiple times. She only came to my work once, but I think security probably scared her so bad that she won't come back. Every message I get that starts with "I am so sorry," I delete without even reading. She made her bed, she should lay in it. So there it is, for better or worse I am done with her. I know I should proofread this, but in all honesty, I just want to be done with it. Now for closing comments. This was so satisfying to read. You seem to be an extremely generous guy, which is all well and good, but in future relationships, please consider dialing it back a bit. Taking care of rent and bills for your girlfriend, giving her a credit card in your name that you pay for, all these sorts of things make you a target for women who will take advantage of your giving nature. Even if a relationship doesn't start out that way, clearly there are women who will use your incredible generosity as the only reason they'll stay with you. I mean, your girlfriend would have probably left you of her own accord before you even discovered the cheating, if you hadn't been taking care of her so thoroughly. And that would have been a good thing, saving you tons of time, money, and emotional investment. My advice? If you're not married, with an agreement that your spouse will be a stay-at-home wife for whatever purpose, don't be the sole financial provider in a relationship without a very good reason for it. It can so easily invite trouble. But yes, this was well done. A clean break. I wish you all the best. I'm 20 with a girlfriend and probably have much less experience than most here. I do have a very caring personality like OP, and it's the sort of stuff I tend to do. Anyway, my perspective is that, stuff like that is fine, but you need to see if she's not reciprocating. I mean, just reading how he described the way she talked, she sounds very ungrateful and demanding, which is a red flag. Even if she contributed nothing else to the relationship, not even showing gratitude would be a big improvement. Taking it further, of course, would be doing things to show her gratitude by returning the favors, even if it's not monetarily. I guess what I'm saying is, I think he can easily be fine as long as he can identify those who do and don't deserve his time, generosity, and self. Damn dude. That is some cold-blooded awesome. Did you actually book her the spa thing? I suppose you had to in order to actually keep her there all day. Anyway, nice job and congratulations. You'll be a lot better off with someone who isn't with you for your money and the things you give them. If you own the flat, why did you move your stuff out? It's a nice place. I can make more money off it by renting it out. Then I stay at my friend's house, low rent, and in a few good years after I paid off the loan, I can sell it. I bought the place to make money off it, but my girl convinced me to stay there. And also so that she can't find me. And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day, everyone. Am I the a-hole stories? Am I the a-hole for telling my brother's children why I treat them different from my nibblings? I, 47 male, need some perspective from people outside of the family and was recommended this place. So here's the story. Over 20 years ago I found out that my brother Joe, 45 male, was sleeping with my then fiancée Kelly, 47 female. I literally caught them in my bed when I came home early and I did not respond well. My brother and ex apologized and begged for forgiveness, but I wanted nothing to do with them. A couple of months later, Kelly found out that she was pregnant and admitted that she didn't know who the father was, so we took a DNA test when her child Amy, 23 female, was born. Joe was the dad, and because of that, my parents decided to forgive Joe because they wanted to involved with their first grandchild. A part of me was hurt, but I didn't blame them and only asked that they respect that Joe was dead to me. Eventually, I married my wife Jane, 45, and we've created a great life for ourselves. Joe has tried to reconciliation and was denied every time. He wasn't invited to my wedding, he had to hear about the birth of my children from people, he was never welcome at my home, and the only time we were in a shared space was for funerals of mutual relatives, and I just avoided or tuned him out. A consequence of this was that, I wasn't involved in the lives of his children, Amy, Jr., 20 male, Val, 18 female, or Tim, 15 male. My parents have never asked me to be present in the children's lives, but that I've talked about them numerous times, and I can tell that they want me to be involved with them because they see how good I am to my nibblings on my wife's side. I have a small but lucrative business and set up college funds for each of them, taken them on big family vacations, example, Disney World, Hawaii, Argentina, etc., attended almost every special event, birthday and graduation, and agreed to be their guardians if my sister-in-law, wife's sister, or brother-in-law, wife's brother, were unable to. I guess the lack of attention and financial support is starting to get to Joe's children because 3 out of 4 of them have asked why I'm not a part of their lives, or seem to care about them. I explained that while I don't hate them, I don't really feel a familial connection, but it's not their fault. I was surprised when they asked why, because I thought since all of them were either adults or almost an adult, that they would finally be told the truth. I told them what went down between their father and I all those years ago, and how there was no way I could be as attentive of an uncle to them without re-establishing some type of contact with Joe. That was not something that I was willing to do. I didn't hear from them, but about a week later, I got an angry call from my mom saying that Joe's children are all upset for getting cheated out of a better life. My mom said that I should have told her or my dad before telling them the truth, and how Amy's siblings are also blaming her too. It wasn't my intention to start a fight, I was just being honest without thinking about it. Am I the a-hole? Added to add, forgot to mention this earlier but Amy is Joe and Kelly's only child together. Junior, Val, and Tim have a different mother. From my understanding, all that was told to the children was that Joe and I got into a huge fight years ago, and that I refused to accept his apology. They were fishing for more information and didn't understand what could have happened that was so bad that I refused to even speak to his children if it wasn't illegal. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, and they do not miss their uncle, they miss the uncle's wallet. To be fair, they don't know about the college funds and they mostly inquired about me not attending birthdays or family events when they're not around. In that case no a-holes here, except for their turning on their eldest sister to blame, she had nothing to do with it. They asked a legitimate question. You gave an honest answer. This is still on your brother for not owning up. My only question is how they asked you for details if you're not in their lives and don't interact with them. Not the a-hole. Joe and Kelly know exactly why their children are not treated as you treat your other nieces and nephews. Instead of being honest with their children, they obviously have pretended that they don't know why. You told them the truth, because their parents' actions are directly responsible for this situation. You cannot be held responsible for what Joe and Kelly did or did not want to share. They're now reaping the consequences of their actions. It sucks for Amy, because she is innocent in all of this. It's wrong to blame her, and her siblings are being selfish. You have no responsibility to Joe, Kelly, or any of their children. To be fair, Amy is Joe and Kelly's only child together. Oh, okay, so Amy is actually a half-sibling to the other 3. So they, the other siblings, are blaming her because she's Kelly's and Joe's daughter, and they think if she wasn't around, then they would be on the receiving end of your generosity. You know, that's just awful. I really do feel bad for her. It's so unfair of them to act entitled to your generosity, but blaming Amy for her parents' actions is unacceptable. Kelly and Joe made this mess. Now Amy is suffering because they couldn't be honest. Or, you know, decent people to begin with. What a mess. Still, it's not your responsibility to clean up after them. It's just a crap show, but I don't see how telling the truth could have been avoided, on your part. There is a reason you cannot accept these kids as family. It's not their fault, but it's the reality they need to accept. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for sharing my aunts with one set of step-siblings and not the other? I, 16 female, Am technically one of 6 kids, though 4 of them are step-siblings. My parents had myself and my younger brother, got divorced, and got remarried to people who each had 2 kids, giving me 4 step-siblings. My aunts, Susan and Nancy, are, to put it simply, rich. Like fly the entire family to a different country for a month every year and not blink at the bill rich. They pay for mine and all 3 of my brothers' tuition, bought my mom and stepdad, Susan is my mom's baby sister, a house, everything. Without my aunts, my family would really be struggling since mom works full-time and stepdad tries, but he's disabled from an injury a few years ago. I know my mom feels like she owes a lot to her younger sister, but all Susan said is that she wants us to be happy. Susan has a lot of health issues that I don't know a lot about, I just know she's sick a lot, and Nancy's an orphan, so we're their only family. I don't know why they don't have their own kids, they'd be great moms, but I haven't asked. And it's not just family they're nice to. They have a scholarship to the school they met at, and instead of making their friend deal with his dad's debt collectors when his dad died, they just paid off his estate after the lawyer gave them the go-ahead a while ago. They're really nice people in general, from everything I've seen and heard from my mom and stepdad. The only people they're not nice to are my dad, my stepmom, and their kids. I don't know what happened in general, a lot of the details have been kept from me, but I know my dad and my aunts went from being decent friends, to never talking. It got even worse when my dad married my stepmom 6 months after the divorce. My aunts do everything they can for my mom, stepdad, and the 4 of us kids. My dad's family? They don't acknowledge him if they see him in the store, unless it's something about me or my brother. Now the issue is, my stepmom and dad asked me to try and talk to them. They said that as the oldest/only bio niece and my Aunt Susan's favorite, that if I asked her to pay for my 2 other step-siblings' tuition to private high school when they start next year, she'd probably cave. If I asked her to take them all with us on the trips, she'd probably agree. Their lives would be much better if she agreed. But I said no. I don't know why my aunt doesn't like my dad, but she already does so much for my mom and I don't want to ask her to do more for someone she clearly doesn't like. This made my dad and stepmom really angry, and they ground me for the rest of the week I'm with them. They said I was greedy for not sharing and making their lives better when my aunt would do it for me. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Not the a-hole. Did your dad cheat on your mom? Why do your dad and stepmom think your aunt has any obligation to help them? I honestly don't know. My mom refuses to talk bad about my dad for the sake of co-parenting, though she said she'll tell me everything when I'm 18. But she also doesn't say a lot of good things about him. Dad said his stepkids are as much my family as my mom's stepkids, which is why my aunt should consider them family as well. Not the a-hole. Feel free to talk to your mom about what your dad and stepmom are saying to you. They are trying to put you in the middle of their drama and use a child, compared to them, to emotionally manipulate Susan and Nancy. That's not cool. Whatever your dad did, it's on him. It's not your responsibility to facilitate anything for him. Not the a-hole. Yeah, I'll probably send my mom a message so she can talk to them. I still have my phone at least, even if my laptop was taken away except for school. Not the a-hole. Your father and stepmother have no business getting you involved in this. It's nice that your mother doesn't say bad things about your father for the sake of co-parenting, but it's pretty clear he did some stuff and your aunts know what. Plus, they are your step-siblings and not even related to your aunts. Your dad is being greedy, and this isn't your problem to solve. Edit. The other set of step-siblings are also their nieces/nephews, so it's very nice of your aunts to help all of you. You dad's other kids, no relation to them, why should they be involved if they aren't friends with the parents? The way my stepmom put it is, my step-siblings on both sides are equally related to me, and thus equally related to my aunts, and so should be treated the same. It didn't seem right when she said it, since my mom wants to adopt my step-brothers and stuff. And now for the update. Hey everyone. I'm sorry I didn't update this last night, it was big and I ended up getting caught up in everything. I texted my mom after she got off work, and told me to get my brother and myself packed up. I got us as packed up as I could, but my dad and my stepmom wouldn't give me my laptop back which I need for school. Well, my mom and both aunts came a bit later to get us. My Aunt Nancy took my brother and I to dinner, since I wasn't fed because I was grounded, and then home to my stepdad and stepbrothers, while my mom and Aunt Susan argued with my dad and stepmom, and by the time they came home they had my laptop back. It was pretty messed up though, and mom told me my stepmom had thrown it, but my Aunt Susan promised to fix it and get me a new one if it couldn't be fixed. Luckily I do have my homework backed up, so I won't get into trouble, but still. My stepdad went out and got us all ice cream sundaes, and we ended up having a giant family discussion. It turns out a lot of you were right. My dad was cheating on my mom with my stepmom, and I guess the jealousy that my step-siblings feel towards my brothers and me about going on vacations and having rich aunts, is a lot worse than I thought. Like, it's all they talk about apparently, though they never brought it up to me. I thought we were at least friends, but my stepmom told my mom her kids hate me, which hurt. And I guess my dad feels like my aunts owe him for some reason, because part of their wealth came from his advice, but that doesn't make any sense. If he was so wise, wouldn't he be rich too like they are? I know my aunts are able to work 3 jobs between them, their individual 9 to 5 and their company, and because they don't have kids they can save more, but they still pay for a lot for 4 kids, me, my brother, and my stepbrothers, and give away a lot of money to other people, so I didn't really understand that. To wrap it up, I don't think I'm going to go see my dad anytime soon. I'm really bothered by how things went down and by this new info, and I know it really hurt my mom to tell me. She kept apologizing, saying she was going to wait until we were both 18 to tell us about everything, but that my stepmom kept saying really horrible things during their argument and my mom was worried we would find out from her, and she would rather we find out in a safer environment. My stepdad was mainly there to refill water cups and give hugs when needed, though he did help to fill in some details when mom couldn't. My aunts told me I did the right thing, and that they were proud of me, and that it was going to be okay. I'm upset and tired and hurt, and I don't know what will happen after today, but we don't have to go to school at least, and I can ask more questions after lunch. So yeah, that's my update. Not very fun, but I guess it's what it is. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for choosing my grandfather's money over my stepsister? I'm the oldest out of my 3 siblings. I just turned 18, I have a younger brother who is 16, and my stepsister who is 14. When I was 13 my family went on low contact with my grandpa and grandma and I didn't know the reason until recently. When I was 13 my grandpa wanted to make a college fund for me and my brother, but wouldn't make one for my stepsister since he didn't see her as a granddaughter. This caused my parents to go low contact with him, and by extension, I barely saw him. So, I turned 18 about a month ago and my grandpa wanted to talk to me. I decided to meet him without my parents knowing, and he told me that he saved up a college fund for me. It has about $100,000 in it. His only condition is that I am the only one that uses it and not to share it with the family. Grandpa told me that he has another one for my brother when he turns 18. I took the money. Today we had a conversation about what loans I will need for college since they can't pay for it. I told them that I won't need any loans since I came into some money recently and I could pay for college out of pocket and maybe even have a little left over. They were shocked and asked where I got all this money. I told them about Grandpa. Well, my parents flipped and started to yell at me for taking that money, telling me I have to give half to my stepsister or return it. I told them no, and they told me if I didn't listen, they would kick me out. I'm now on a friend's couch and wondering if I made the wrong choice. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. It'd be stupid to give up a free college education. Also, he's not the one who married and took the stepkids. He's not obligated to fund their college educations. Hey, OP, I know it seems overwhelming right now, but your parents made a huge financial decision for you and your brother without your consent. In a perfect world, they would be happy that Grandpa can fund you too so they can save up for your stepsister, but they're so focused on fairness that they can't see past their own entitlement. Not the a-hole, and get yourself a great education. Not the a-hole. Grandpa left you that money for you. Not for anyone else. With that money get yourself an apartment. Not the a-hole. Go to college, watch your money closely, and don't overspend on non-essentials. You'll be surprised how fast it goes if you don't. Not the a-hole. Your grandfather doesn't see your stepsister as his grandkid, that's his call. He decided to create a college fund for you and your brother, that's his call too. He told you he didn't want you to share the money, so if you split it with your stepsister, you'd be going against his wishes. Your parents can decide to go low contact with your grandparents for the sake of your stepsister, but they don't get to tell you to split the money with her. They can be upset with Grandpa, but not with you. If anything, now that you and your brother are covered, your parents can put more money into your stepsister's college fund. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for not reaching out to my mother after she disowned me? Here's some context. I've had issues with my Asian, she's pretty traditional too, mother my whole life. I'm 22 female. She raised me and my sister since my father passed when I was a child. She is a heavy alcohol drinker and was quite emotionally abusive. Things got better when I went to college since we saw one another much less. 2018, I started dating my current partner. Things got bumpy one winter, 2019-2020, with both of our depressions. When I was studying for my MCAT in the winter while I was home, he suggested a break. My mother had never seen me so sad. A few weeks later after my MCAT, we got back together and now we're super happy. He's apologized to me. Here's the incident. 1.5 months ago, I received a full ride to medical school. I shared this with my mom and she was ecstatic. The next day, she asked what my partner was going to do, and I suggested he'd move with me, and now my mom and I haven't spoken since. She's upset for many reasons. 1. He never apologized to my mother or my sister for when he broke up with me during the winter. She thinks him and his mother should apologize to her and my sister, and since they never apologized, they suck. 2. She thinks I will be missing opportunities for better men if I go to school with a partner, aka missing a chance to date doctors. 3. She thinks I won't try as hard if I live with him. She begged me for the first year in school, to not live with him. Essentially, she doesn't like him and his family from the break incident. She gave me an ultimatum, him or her. I told her it's not her life, and that I've worked so hard to get here, he's just a supporter. Him being in my life hasn't bothered me for 3 years, and it likely won't in med school. I admit, I said some harsh words. At one point, I got so mad, I said F you, but it's when she called my partner's family trash, or that I won't be successful if I'm with them, but cannot believe she disowned me for this. We haven't spoken since and tells my sister she won't. My mother has said she's spoken with all her friends, and they agree I'm in the wrong. But am I? I got a full ride to med school and am deciding to move with my partner. We are both happy. I understand her fears as a mother, but to this extreme? Am I the a-hole? She gave me an ultimatum, him or her. You're a grown woman in medical school, congrats by the way, who has found a partner who supports you and makes you happy. Your mother emotionally abused you in the past and it seems to me that she's doing it again. It sounds like she is only getting involved in your life due to your accomplishments. Do not let her reap the benefits of your hard-earned efforts if she didn't help you achieve them along the way. That is not genuine love from her. That is her seeking an opportunity to make herself look good. Do not let her take your happiness from you. Absolutely not the a-hole. The one rule in life I always live by: shut the toxic people out. Why should your partner have to apologize to your family for breaking up with you? You're the one he hurt, you're the one he apologizes to. And why should his mom apologize for his actions? Doctors are not better than everyone else. If you love your partner, and he's supporting you, that's what matters. What does she mean you won't try as hard? Congrats on getting into med school. Good luck with everything. Not the a-hole. Thank you. Exactly. She thinks because she was caused so much pain by what he did, I cried a lot, which I guess caused my mom a lot of distress. He needs to apologize to her. And his mom needs to apologize for that? I know. My mom will never get that mindset out. That I need to marry a doctor. She tried to brush it off when she said you won't try as hard, but essentially that he will be a bother to my studying. But I told her, I've studied for 3 years with him in my life, and even with the break during my MCAT, I still did fine. It's more of a hit to who I am. She doesn't trust I'll work hard with a man in my life? And that's it for this video, guys. If you have thoughts to share, leave a comment below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you like this content. I'll catch you in the next one. Good day everyone.